be able to adapt changes is very important. Like for us, right? Pandemic changed people's habit from housing, communication to transportation, right? Which
Mm,
means we have to move fast to service the people in many other housing market, because
mm.
we're starting from Bay Area. Right now we realize people are moving to Austin, people to moving to Idaho Falls. So we have to figure out, okay, how we actually can helping those people.
Mm.
And well, it's challenging for us because we're in the real estate sector, and it's real estate is a local business.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of the Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that has grown several startups into 7 and 8 figure businesses, as well as the CEO and founder of Miller IP Law, where we help startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. And if you ever need help with your patent or trademark, just go to strategymeeting.com and we're always here to help. Now, today is another special episode. And they're all special, but I like this, even these ones, even more than normal, which is it's a 6 months, where are they at now? And this is really introducing people we've had previously on the podcast. So you should go back and listen to those episodes, but then telling you their story of now how the last 6 months go. Did everything play out just the way you wanted, or is there something else that you had to pivot, adjust, or anything else? So with that, the person we're having on today, person that with the last episode is Mao Du. Now, if you remember, Mao was her original business was Co-Home, and where it was is basically helping first-time homeowners be able to invest in or get a home that they can't afford on their own. So if you're to think of, let's take a New York or a California or Utah is getting this way where I'm at, and everywhere else where you're getting expensive homes, where it's getting difficult for a first-time homeowner to be able to save up and be able to afford a home because it's just out of their reach. And so Mao is she was looking and addressing this problem, saying, how can we help first-time home buyers in order to actually, rather than just rent for their whole lives, be able to save up or have other people go in and own the home together, or co-ownership of the home, which is then where you get co-home. So that was where kind of we left off 6 months, and now we have Mao back on to tell us a little bit more about where she's at and what pivots they've made, what other things they've learned, and everything and all in between. So with that much as an introduction, welcome onto the podcast, Mao.
Hey, Devin. Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. Yes. So our platform is called Co-Home, and we just launched actually. We actually launched in December 8th, and
Mm,
it was a good, successful launch, and have several reporters from NBC Bay Area, BBC News reach out
mm,
to us and to do a feature. And also right now we're ramping up all the testimonial and have the new feature coming up, because we're always learning from the customers and other people at the same time. So we're actually gonna wrapping up new version
mm.
uh, even after we actually just launched like last week. So yeah, it's very exciting, and we actually learn a lot. We currently partner with the local brokerage firms like Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams, those big firms, and start doing co-marketing and go-to-market early next year. So very excited.
No, and first of all, congratulations on launching. I think that's always a major step. And as I've done businesses before, you always you get so busy with doing so many things that you never really take a breath or you stop to think, hey, we actually made a good milestone. So that's
Yes.
always one thing that you launch, you actually get it going, up and running, people can use it. That's a
Yep.
big deal. So congratulations on getting that recently launched and getting that going. Now, there's a few things we chatted before the podcast. You made some pivots. You also learned some things along the way. So maybe the first thing is tell us a little bit about the pivots you made, some of the things and also some of the things you learned along the way as to what you've done over the last 6 months. It's made things better, made things different, and everything that's going on. So
Yep.
let us know where you've been at and what you've been doing.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we actually initially when we rolled out our beta version into
Hmm.
market, we only targeting first home buyer because we thought only first home buyer needs this kind of co-ownership opportunity to access home ownership. But then we start having some early customers come in, and they say, "Hey, we are open to co-ownership. We like
Hmm.
the idea. We love the idea. But the thing is, we don't have enough down payment." And at the same time, we actually have investors come in, are
Hmm.
thinking about, having opportunity to co-investing with other investors.
Mm,
So we were thinking about, maybe how we can solve the problem for down payment part,
mm,
right? We do know that state local have some incentive about down payment, but that's a total different thing, because
mm,
those are ones that are let you get into the housing market, but they set the final resale price. So
mm,
basically it's not really your house. You cannot fully um, capitalize it or sell your house at the end. You have to sell back to the government at a predetermined price. So that's
mm,
different. That's different,
mm,
right?
mm,
So that's why we figured it out. And then the customer saying, hey, if you guys can actually find some investors helping us with down payment, we would love to try that model.
mm,
So that kind of questions and early experiment that actually lead us to talk to our investors, customers. We say, hey, you guys actually open to invest for first home buyer, and in exchange for substantial equities in a home ownership, but
mm,
at the same time you can help other people to get into get their foot into the housing market, and they're
mm,
okay to do so, right? So far actually there's a couple investor type, which is they're put their money into the down payment for first home buyer in exchange for debt
mm,
financing, which is looking for high yield, especially
mm,
right now given the interest rate is low, doesn't make sense for them to do so.
mm,
Or they say, hey, we thinking this housing market gonna grow, and we're just put the money in the down payment for you guys in exchange for 30% or 40% of the equity with you guys. So that to me is actually a learning thing, because I never
mm.
thought that this kind of model could work until they actually come down together and willing to meet and connect, a draft agreement and close the home through
Mm,
us. So that's really a milestone, and that's really brings more target for co-home,
mm.
and also we can leverage investors to help more people for first time buyer.
No, and I like the approach. As simple as it sounds, of you listening to the customers, to, hey, this is the thing that's holding us back from using your system, or this is a difficulty we have. Too often, especially if you're an entrepreneur or a startup person, you have, hey, I have a vision of what the product is and how it's going to work, and you want to start building it, and you get deeper and deeper into it. You don't want to step back. You don't want to change things because you
Yeah.
think you know what's best, so to speak. But I think that, to your point, if you're listening to your customers, if you're saying, what are the issues that they're finding, what are they running into, what are they not being able to, why are they not using our product, or what do we need to do to make it easier for them to use our product, that can be a big difference between a successful company versus one that people never use because it doesn't fit with what they need. So first of all, kudos to you guys on that.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
oh, go ahead. And so
Yeah.
I think that you mentioned that there was one other pivot, and then we'll talk about a few other things that you learned along the way as well. Is you also, kind of almost dovetailing, is you found that investors were also a good avenue, not just people that were wanting to co-own a home, but investors were also another good client. So maybe talk a little bit about that as to how you started to incorporate those that wanted to do the investors and how you leverage that for your platform.
Yes. So the investor that are reaching out to us and start looking for home through our platform and find other investors, we actually um, keep continuing conversation with them, because I want to learn why they actually use our product.
Mm,
So through that, we actually learned there the most important factor for investor to thinking about this
mm,
co-ownership approach is, first of all, they don't want to put all their assets into one pocket, right? They want to actually be able to put their money into several different states or different
mm,
properties,
mm,
so that to mitigate risk. Especially right now, the people are starting, moving away from the big cities, and they go to the Idaho, they go to Boise, they go to um, Austin's. So they're just everywhere. So investors, they're like, okay, seems like I have to put the investment in several different regions other than just California, right?
mm,
So that's why investors are thinking about to um, kind of like allocate their assets, diversify their assets even more than previously. And and the investor, like they know that the the investment in real estate has to be leveraged someone that have the local expertise and contact.
Mm,
So, and also at the same time, if let's say they say if they actually invest with someone else in a different region,
mm,
they could invest at the same time they could leverage their investment partners to manage the property for them. So they
mm.
don't have to pay that 8% property management fee. So that's actually another good point that I want to point it out why the investor would like to do this co-ownership approach.
Hmm. So in other words, it's almost a similar idea to why two or first time homeowners may want to co-own a home in the sense that they might not have the money to own or to be able to do it by themselves. You're saying investors maybe not so much just purely on the money side, but on the side of, hey, we want to diversify, we want to have a bigger portfolio, different locations, reduce our risk, and we don't want to have to buy the home maybe all on our own, but we just like to have a portion of the home. So you have multiple investors that are now almost co-owning the home together as an investment property in order to spread the risk and diversify. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And especially right now, I think given the pandemic, like
Mm,
people are actually moving everywhere, right? Right now, people are thinking about, oh, hell, I actually should just find a place, move to a state, have no income tax. That's why you can see people are moving to Seattle, people are moving to Idaho's or lower, cheaper, cheaper labor areas. So I think that's the first step. The
mm,
next step, were thinking about, hey, if I'm gonna forever work from home, I instead of just living in one place, I want to have a multiple place to travel
mm,
because I don't have to work near the work, right? Near the job.
mm.
So I think the fractional ownership makes sense because you get to, with limited assets, you get to get access to a different properties allocated into a different, many more places. So you get to travel, you get to stay there, you get to, you know, just give you more like a whole new avenue than you usually
No,
have.
no, and I think that makes complete sense as to why that might be a potential customer, maybe one that you didn't necessarily think of right out of the chute, but why it certainly makes sense. They do want to leverage a lot of the same technology and platform that you guys are building. Now, you mentioned, those are a couple pivots you made along the way, but is there anything else, other things that you've learned over the last 6 months as far as getting the business up and running, about, people to work with, people not to work with, how you set up the company, how you market, how you sell, any or all of the above? Kind of what were any other things that you learned along the way in the last 6 months?
Sure. There are three things that I think I learned a lot during that 6 months.
Mm,
Uh, I mean, of course, startup is always a learning experience for everyone, even especially for a founder, like first time founder like me,
mm,
right? I think that the process is tough, is long and lonely. And I think the patience and grit is very important, right?
mm,
Lots of up and downs, and you need to be patient to see your progress and company growth.
mm,
Just don't give up, right? I've heard that the financing is always difficult. Once
mm,
you get prove your market, prove your concept and get market product fit, then other people will start, using your product, and it will become much easier. So I guess you have to just like be, be brave enough to get there first, and
mm.
then the different avenue will come in. So, but once you actually get financing, after Series A and Series B, well, you probably need to think about how to get you hit your sales milestone. But that's a totally different story.
Mm.
But for early stage startup, you just need to be patient enough and to believe. And also, in the early days, people believe in your product, right? Early customers, become people that willing to talk to you,
Mm.
willing to help you, and especially your crew, right? The people who willing trust you and work for you. Those are people you should have really appreciated. And yeah, by the way, giving this opportunity, thanks Devin to give me this opportunities to speak myself about my journey and help every one of you guys are currently listening to this episode or get insights and resonate with it.
No, and you hit on a couple things that I certainly think are good lessons to learn, along the way. And I think honestly, whether you're a first time founder, you're a 20th time founder, that
Yeah,
grit and determination, because I think almost every startup that I'm aware of, and I think it holds true, you're going to hit points during the startup that aren't fun, that aren't working out the way you think, that aren't going that you wonder, should I give up? Did I make the right decision? Is this all going to work out? And having that grit and determination, I think, is one that, as cliche as it is, it holds true in the sense that if you don't have that, if you're not willing to push through, you're not going to make it as a founder, and vice versa. You can make it through a lot of things if you're willing to stick with it. Now, it doesn't mean, to your point, you don't pivot. You may have to adjust, you may have to change, and you may not do the exact same thing that you were started out with, but to your,
right.
you still have to have that grit and determination. I also love the second point that you made, which is, if you're working with investors and people that are putting their faith in, whether it's friends and family around, whether it's institutional investors, any angel investors, or anybody else, they're along with the ride. You don't know when you start if it's going to be successful, if it's going to work out. You think it is, you have faith, otherwise you wouldn't start, but you don't know if whether or not it's going to be successful. And too often it's too easy to, hey, thank you for the money. You take their money and then you kind of forget about them. Oh yeah, they invested, nah, now I'm just doing my own thing. And they are along for the ride, and they're helping you out, and they want you to win, and they're your champion. So to have that gratitude and to make sure that you share with your successes and tell them thank you for having the
Exactly.
faith and to support you, I think, is an important thing to hit on.
Exactly.
Anything else that you hit on? You mentioned threes, or anything else that you've learned along the way that we haven't touched on?
Yeah. So I think in this, especially we are a startup that are launching during this crisis, right?
Mm,
It's probably people were questioning like how you guys can make it through, and like what do you guys do pivot, or what are the things that you have to do, compared to other, compared to the startup that are launching in different time frame. Or so I would say, able to adapt changes is very important. Like for us, right, pandemic changed people's habit from housing, communication to transportation, right? Which
mm,
means we have to move fast to service the people in many other housing market, because
mm,
we're starting from Bay Area. Right now we realize people are moving to Austin, people to moving to Idaho Falls. So we have to figure out, okay, how we actually can helping those people.
mm,
And well, it's challenging for us because we're in the real estate sector, and it's real estate, it's a local business.
mm,
So you can't just like turn your API or MLS listing to those region and then you can start business. You
mm,
have to talk to the people in that region and to be figured out what's the target
mm,
realtors, what's your target lenders willing to partner with you, what's the target customers in that region. You
mm,
see, it's totally different game, totally different the thing. So we have to be, move really fast to get the markets research down, and and align with the business partners to be able to actually be able to go with this thing, go with this trend.
mm,
And but by the way, I think housing markets in general is pretty good during the
mm,
pandemic. We can also see, right, especially residential, because people spend more time at home. They're willing to
mm.
have a bigger yard, bigger house. And so we just have to really work hard to be able to take this, tailwinds, I
Mm.
guess.
No, and I think that, I think there's a lot of things that learned along the way. And I like how you also always have to be watching the market, right? Almost to your point of, hey, if people are leaving California as an example, and they are going to Texas, or they're going to Idaho, or whatever place state they're going, then you need to be where your customers are at, right? Rather
Yes,
than rather than just try and get the customers where they're not, and trying to say, this is where I live, or this is where we're headquartered or based. Let's figure out where they're at, and then let's make sure that we address that. So I like that as a comment and thought. Now, I think one of the other things we talked a little bit about was investor update, and you've had some updates or some things that were going on with investors, or I can't remember if it was looking for investors. You already got investment dollars. You're wanting more investment dollars, and I would say most startups are always looking for investor dollars because you're wanting to grow and to build. But I think you mentioned that, so maybe give us an update there.
Yeah, we by that time 6 months ago, we actually was looking for angel round,
Mm,
and we actually got some angel funds
mm,
for the business. But right now, since we have the product and we have started doing the business, and we already have the pipeline, sales pipeline with local brokerage firms. So right now, we're actually looking for a VC firm financing for the seed round. So
mm.
very excited. And right now, we're talking to several big time VCs in the valley, and we're actually negotiating with the terms, stuff like that. So it's making a much big progress than last time we talked.
Well, that's awesome. No, I think that, it's always interesting to see, every time you raise is a bit of a different, especially when you're going from pre-seed, seed, or then you go to series A or series B. It's always a different animal because you're working with different types of investors. They want different information, they evaluate you differently, and they're looking for different metrics. So, first of all, congrats on closing the earlier rounds, and now good luck with closing these rounds as they're both different animals. Well, as we start to wrap up and as we continue forward, now you're looking at the next, we're 6 months in from the first time we talked, but now looking again 6 to 12 months out. So that next 6 to 12 months, where do you see things going? What's kind of in the roadmap, or what's the plan, and what do you think will happen?
So for next 6 months, I think the sales will be the focus for the business, which
Hmm.
is figure out what are the target realtor or brokerage firms are willing to use your product to serve their needs,
Hmm.
to serve their sales goal. Figuring out that out, and then also as well as lenders as well.
Hmm.
And then once we figure that out, in the next 6 months, we need to really have a partner with as many lenders, as many brokerage firms as possible to hit our sales milestone. So I
Hmm.
think next 6 months to a year will be extremely um, critical for us
Hmm.
to to be able to success.
So now dovetailing right into that. So people that are wanting to help you or participate in the current fundraising round, they want to be they're real estate, they want to be an investor, they want to co-partner with you, they're a first-time customer that wants to use your platform. Any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out, find out more, start to use your system, invest in you, or anything else?
Thank you. Yes, our website address is cohome.com, cohome.com.
Hmm.
Very easy to find us. And then our contact information is you can also just shoot us an email at hello@cohome.com. And we're very responsive to the emails and inquiries, whether you're investors looking for properties or investors looking for equity financing. We can talk offline. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Well, I definitely encourage, if you're looking to get into home ownership, and I think this is a great platform and it's a great way to make that entrance. Or if you're an investor or you're on the investor side, either wanting to participate in the fundraising round or to be one of the investors that participates in the platform, or any or all of the above, definitely encourage you to reach out to either go to cohome.com or is it hello@cohome.com and reach out to them. Well, thank you again, Mal, for coming on. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, if you are a listener that wants to share your story, if it's the first story or you have 6 months and we've already had you on, we'd love to hear anything. We always love to share the journeys as inventors and co-founders and founders. Go to inventivejourneyguest.com, apply to be on the podcast. Now, if you're already a listener, make sure to click subscribe so you get notifications as all the new and awesome episodes come out. And last but not least, if you are ever need help with patents and trademarks, feel free to reach out to us at Miller IP Law by going to strategymeeting.com, and we're always here to help. Thank you again, Mao. It's been a pleasure, and I wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you so much, Devin.